All right, it's a beautiful time on television like always, and you're welcome to the program Africa Discourse on independent television. My name is Evan Zunokugi. On this show, we look at issues on the continent of Africa and, of course, see how we as Africans and how African nations can benefit. And when we talk about issues now, we're talking about global issues, issues that we, translate meaningful developments to Africa, as it were. Well, today on the program, Africa Discuss, we are going to be looking at the BRICS, just a 5 acronym word. And of course, when we say the BRICS now, we're talking about originally 4 nations, 4 super nations in terms of population, in terms of economic growth and economic advantage compared to other nations of the world. 4 nations that came together. That was in 2006. But sometime in 2009, South Africa, as the only Africa nation, had to join. So that now automatically changed the name of the acronym from BRIC to BRICS. We are talking about BRICS, BRICS nation. And if you go through different literatures, you would have read that it is a kind of a group of countries now that has developed into intergovernmental organization. And the term BRICS originally denoted a collection of countries experiencing rapid economic growth that would, if growth were maintained at similar rates, emerge as the dominant economic players of the 21st century. And also, we understand that the acronym derived from the name of the early members of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and of course South Africa. So hence you have the word BRICS. The acronym BRICS actually stands for 5 members nations that came together to put themselves together as an organization to build to the advantage of the economic growth of their nations. So today we are going to be looking at African nations in BRICS because very recently we have seen that more than one nation. Initially, it was only South Africa that was a member of the BRICS, organization. But as it stands now, we have almost about 5 African nations. Nigeria is there, Morocco is there, Egypt is there, and we understand that Zimbabwe is also there. So about 5 African nations now. That's partners, partners with the BRICS. And we're going to be looking at all that. How come some members are, some nations are members, and of course some other countries are partners. In other words, what are the differences when we say nations are partners of such an organization and other nations are members? So we're going to be looking at all that on the program today. But the big question that we asked is African nations as members of the BRICS. So what would they bring to the table? Because like what I said a while ago, that when we're looking at the BRICS nations, we're talking about super nations. You talk about Great Britain, you talk about Republic of China, you talk about Russia, you talk about India, and of course you talk about South Africa. All these nations in terms of population, they are so big and so strong in terms of population. And of course in terms of economic prowess, economic strength, they are so big. So other African nations now that are joining, do they have this same population? Do they have what it takes to be members? Probably that's the reason why that they are referred to as partners as it stands now. And of course, to look at all this today, we are so privileged to have the erudite, ever erudite Syria author, and of course the international conflict resolution expert, Nowita Igbotako. So it's a pleasure to have you on the program.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. And also too, when we have Mr. Henry Erio Mokhale, who is a business expert and of course an entrepreneur, he's going to be joining us virtually. When we have him, he will join us so that he can also bear his mind on some of the issues that we're going to be looking at today on the program Africa Discuss. Now, Nowita Igbotako, good one to know that we're having more African nations into the BRICS. No more one nation. Nigeria is a partner now, even if we're saying that it's not a member. It's a partner of the BRICS. and some other African nations. But let's look at it now. What do we readily see that African nations bringing to the table of the BRICS? Let's start from there.
Well, what are they bringing to the table? African nations. I don't see what they want to bring, positively, because of what has bedevilled Africa in contemporary times. Though we have a lot in terms of resources, to push to BRICS. That is what we have, because the country is over endowed with natural resources. But what does Africa bring to the table? When you have most of these countries, they are more or less superpowers. They're talking about BRICS: Brazil, Russia, India, China. China is the second largest economy in the world. And I want to quickly say something for the benefit of viewers and listeners. You see, in the global arena, there's something that is happening there. There's this struggle for supremacy between bigger nations, mostly these superpowers. There's this philosophy that says that there's this intense competition for global resources. So why was BRICS formed in the first place? I think it is very important.
Yeah, I mean, we have the United Nations.
Yeah.
So why do we have BRICS?
Why do we have BRICS? BRICS came into being because those countries were not having fair share in the global economic arrangement. The global economic arrangement favors the North African countries. I'm talking about America, North Africa, and North American countries, Western Europe. And given the way world history has been presenting before mankind, the Caucasian race, what's it, Caucasian race?
The Caucasian race.
You talk of the
Latin
Latin America,
Yeah.
you talk of European countries. They have succeeded so far to subdue the world. And you talk of the International Monetary Fund, for instance, World Bank. Where is this situated? It's situated in Washington. So China, Russia, and the rest, after looking at the scenario, the global development arrangement is not in favor of those countries. So they were challenged. How do we compete favorably with the United States, for instance? How do we compete favorably with Western Europe? The financial institutions is being controlled, is being maneuvered from the western flanks of the world. Remember, these countries were already there. United States, most of the Western Europe, they were already developed before Soviet Union came up in 1917. Remember that? Before this revolution of 1917, that Soviet Union, we now have Russia. The Western Hemisphere was equally well developed with countries like the United States and the rest before the Chinese Revolution of 1949. So when these countries came, their leaders, they look at the global arrangement. How do we survive? Listen, it's survivor. Because I know what plays in the international arena. Survivor, the survivor of the fiercest. How do we compete for world resources? Because the Caucasian race, they've succeeded to pocket a chunk of world resources. So the countries in BRICS, they felt challenged. They felt pushed to a corner. How do we flex our muscle? How do we compete favorably with those countries in the northern hemisphere, United States and the rest, and Western hemisphere? So that's why they come up with such organization. And now, I don't know whether African leaders, whether they don't have foresight, whether their foreign ministers are intellectually bankrupt. I don't know. Because if you have experts, international conflict resolution experts, international experts, international politics, they will avoid most African leaders not to go into BRICS.
Why?
Because BRICS, as I just said, they after their national interest. See, and you see, they after their national interest.
Now, when you say national interest now, there is a single interest of the BRICS. The single interest of the BRICS is the interest of every member nation.
See, so one of the problems they are having in BRICS is this, there's a tussle for supremacy among them. As we say, China is the largest, second largest economy in the world. And their import duty is the lowest. The import duty is even is anathema. It's even against African countries because of the agro-mechanized products. The import duties of China, for instance, because China is a large entity, one of the biggest countries in the world. So China can afford to lower its import duties. And that is affecting the import from export from African countries. So these are basic facts that most African leaders, they have not seen. I don't know who is advising African leaders. I don't know who is advising African president. I don't know who is advising President Tinubu, for instance. What is Nigeria going to do in BRICS? What do we stand to gain? To further sell our goods and services? To further engage in inter-regional development arrangement? Let's say yes. But I challenge Nigerian government, for instance. I challenge African government, for instance, to look inward. For me, it is simply funny. It's like mockery. A continent that is endowed more than the rest countries of the world. Some of them are now being seen as partners in BRICS, for instance.
Not even members.
The weakest of the BRICS nation is South Africa. Why South Africa is the weakest? Why is South Africa is the weakest? Because they don't have strong foreign exchange. The foreign exchange is weak.
All right.
So these are the issues. So you need experts. And because I know, that's why I'm talking this way.
Yeah.
And I don't know what African leaders, African foreign ministers, whether they are intellectually bankrupt, I don't know. What do they stand to gain?
Okay.
Instead of staying in your country and get this done.
Yeah. Now, we'll leave that question. We're going to come back to it later. Now, this is the visuals you're watching now is actually the last summit for the BRICS. You can see Vladimir Putin there. That's the Russian president who has assumed the chairmanship position of the BRICS. That's one question we're going to be asking later because Russia does not have the population that China has. Because one of the factors of making you to be a strong member of the BRICS is your population strength. China has a population of over 2.3 billion, citizens as Chinese, citizens. But for Russia, they don't have that population. Now, Nowitai Butako, let us look at how African nations now, because if the 4 or 5 African nations now that are members of the BRICS, if they put their population together, little wonder whether we even get up to 3.2 billion of the Chinese. So looking at this now, how do we begin to also institutionalize our presence at the BRICS so that it won't just be a thing of being partner, because that's what our members now begin to say as partners.
As I said earlier, because it's good to get the grand norm concerning the setting up of BRICS. BRICS came into existence because they want to compete favorably with United States and all those.
With the West,
with the West,
the US. The US is the
survivor
of the BRICS
for the world's wealth,
yeah,
world resources.
Yeah,
it's as simple as that. Because United States and those countries in the Western Hemisphere, they were there before Russia became a superpower, before China became a superpower. Because India under Modi is another strong leader coming from India, is very visionary, is very tough. So because you need tough leaders with vision and mission to know what is good for their country or countries, for them to move forward. Because if you look at how countries developed, there are some personal strong men that that affected things positively in Russia, for instance, in China, for instance, even United States. We can start mentioning names. You understand? So, and Modi is a character, it's a strong character that one of the best for India. You understand? So now, these countries, they set up BRICS for their survival, because the philosophy that governs international politics is might. There is no international morality, international arena.
The winner takes it all.
The winner takes it off. No, which morality? Who knows whether you have resources or not? The ability to diplomacy of the highest level. So that's why I said earlier, do African presidents, President Tinubu, for instance, is Minister for External Affairs, economic team, do they know the implications? Do they know why BRICS was set up? They are like boy in the BRICS arrangement now. China has a mission. India has a mission. Russia has a mission. These are the founding fathers of BRICS.
So are we saying that in all of all this now that there are no opportunities?
There are opportunities. I'm not saying there are no opportunities. I don't want listeners.
Let us begin to explore those opportunities.
The opportunity is for Africa to be involved in a regional, inter-regional trade investment. To be able to expose the agro-alignment industry, climate change, mining, and things like that. So it will expose African countries to trade, to sell their goods and services. The ability for African leaders to compete, to have alternatives from what is being pushed from Washington and Western Hemisphere. But I want to say one thing very clearly. The characters that are made of BRICS, they will not allow African leaders to get what they want to get. They will not want them to survive. Okay, why are they giving them an option of being partners? For me, it's an insult. Because Nigeria, for instance, is the largest black nation on earth. Why can't Nigeria initiate a regional bloc and call fellow African countries or some other third world countries?
Yeah, we have regional blocks. The AU is there.
What I'm saying is
and all that. If we're talking about investment opportunities now, ECOWAS is another block that has to do with that. So
why is ECOWAS not working?
Is ECOWAS not working?
See, why is it that African leaders, they are not contented with what they have? African Union, for instance, the Community of West African States, they will still have a Community of East African States and a few them. So the point is that most African leaders, they don't know what they want. They don't have a coherent vision. So, it's just like, hey, what is happening there? Let's see what is happening. Let's see what we can get. If you look closely, what is motivating most of these African leaders to go for BRICS and not BRICS is for us to secure loan. I'm telling you, have to have financial soft landing so that they can borrow money to do one or two things. That is my understanding. And because I know Africa is endowed, we have what it takes to tell the world this is what we want, this is what we don't want. That's the part of the matter.
All right, so
but African leaders, they are not taking advantage of what they have.
Okay. Now that we have a situation whereby African nations are partnering with the BRICS nations, in other words, they are only their engagement is on the basis of partnership, not being members now. That's what we've been able to establish so far. But let us look at what seems to be another infighting, even in the BRICS. You have two nations that may not readily agree to each other. We're talking about the great China is there.
Yeah.
And of course, Russia. Russia has assumed the chairmanship position of BRICS right from inception. Even in this last summit, we saw the president of Russia there. That's Vladimir Putin. Now, let's look at these two nations. Russia does not have the kind of population that China has. Because one of the bases on which that gives you big strength in the BRICS is the fact that you have a superb population. But Russia will not readily give it up to China. Is this not going to confront the interest of, negate the interest of the purpose of setting up the BRICS?
In fact, one of the things that is working against BRICS is lack of consensus. They will meet and they want to meet just as they have met. Previous agreements, they don't even follow up. There is this struggle too for who controls BRICS.
There's individual interest.
That's what I'm telling you.
Collective interest.
I told you from the beginning of national interest. As we speak, China is it has the lowest import duty. That lowest import duty is not even beneficial to African countries, given our resources, given what we want to export and things like that. Because China has a big economic base. They have the population, they have everything. So lower the import duties does not even affect China.
Affect them, yeah.
So what are we saying? Then the war going on in China, in Russia and Ukraine,
yeah,
has given China an edge, you know, to dictate, policies and positions to the leadership of BRICS. So that is a fact of the matter.
Okay.
Yes. So the internal fighting is there. The supremacy battle is going on. So and that's what we get in any organization. Even United Nations, you have supremacy tussle. You know, in OPEC, you have supremacy tussle. Even OPEC, Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. You know, any regional, global organization, they have supremacy tussle. There is this tendency for strong men to want to have their countries to have a way above the rest people. So, and as I said, China is currently having an advantage over Russia because Russia is being kicked left and right, given the war going on in Ukraine. So, at the end of the day, as I said, is the national interest of each members is still an issue to get what they want to get.
Okay. All right, so yeah, the program is still Africa Discourse on Independent Television, and we are looking at the BRICS nation this afternoon, where we said that originally the BRICS as an acronym for an organization that started with just 4 or 5 nations is actually a bloc, you know, if you like, a global bloc that has to do with economic prowess of nations. Nations coming together to put all their economic advantage or advantages now together and see how member nations can benefit. And we said that Brazil originally is a member of the BRICS. We also have Russia, then we have India, we have China, and then we have South Africa. That's the first only African nation to join the BRICS. But as it stands now, Nigeria is a member on the basis of partnership. And that is the way it is also with other African nations on the basis of partnership. Now, the question that we started by asking is this basis of partnership, what is it really about? Why not being full members? But we've been able to see that probably because Nigeria and maybe other African nations do not have what it takes, they don't have that population that other nations have.
They don't have the strong
economic strength.
Currency. The currency is weak.
You know, so to be members, so they would just rather partner with them. So, Novita, we're trying to look at the opportunities that African nations stands to gain. Now, as it stands now, we understand that the BRICS would have had its currency, you know, but for, you know, America has a way of always influencing. America will go inside. You know, for Russia, the BRICS would have had its currency, but America has also always worked against this. You want to take it up from there?
For instance, it was President Lula of Brazil.
Yeah.
So Brazilian president that initiated the currency for BRICS, you know, to counter the dollar.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the major factors that made BRICS to be set up was to counter the global influence of the dollar. The dollar is an issue. That is a principal thing, because the dollar has been able to penetrate global international market. You understand? So then the Western countries being piloted by the United States, they'll be able to control the international messaging financial system.
That's the IMF.
Not even IMF now. There are these financial institutions, being controlled by the Western Hemisphere. There's all these transactions. Okay, because for instance, when there was sanction against Russia, for instance, the sanction was a bit tight on Russia because the Western Hemisphere still control international messaging financial transaction. That's what they call international messaging financial transaction. So what goes on financially, globally, is being controlled
by the West.
By the West.
By the U.S.
By the United States.
Yeah.
So that's what the Brazilian president wanted to, he initiated it, the Brazilian president. Say, how do we survive? How do we achieve our global aim? Fighting the dominance of the United States and its Western allies. But that thing is still shaking. They've not been able to do it. The dollar is still an issue. So, as I said earlier, one of the fundamental reasons for setting up BRICS is for those countries to compete for global wealth and resources. So the American will not be controlling everything, hook, line, and sinker. Yeah. That is very clear. So that's what I said earlier. What are African nations doing in BRICS? They are not superpowers. These are third world countries. The financial system is foreign currency
is low.
Even before African countries started coming to BRICS for partnership, South Africa is the weakest, in spite of the
back in the continent, but
in Africa, South Africa is an issue.
Yeah, but the weakest in BRICS.
Yeah, the weakest in BRICS. Imagine that. That sends a message. Why is South Africa the weakest? Because the currency is not strong in the international arena. You understand?
Yeah.
So this major superpower, they control global markets.
Okay. All right. So
as I said earlier,
yeah,
China is the second biggest economy in the world to the United States. Today, they are still competing with United. In fact, one of the foreign policies of the United States is how do they tackle China? If you want the presidential debate, presidential elections, how to tackle China is an issue in American foreign diplomacy.
Yeah.
So China has come. It's a threat to America.
All right. All right, so we'll take a short pause now. The program is still Africa Discourse, and when we return, we should be able to see some of the factors, that we are talking about when we talk about BRICS. So we've been able to talk expansively on the issue of strong financial strength, so to say, that South Africa, that was the first African nation to join the BRICS, did not have and still don't have now, compared to other members, let alone other new African nations that just joined the BRICS. So when we return, we should look at other factors and see how African nations that are partnering now, or if you like, that are members of the BRICS, how they can begin to think on how to work at these factors so that they can also have the full stand of being members of the BRICS. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. All right, thank you one more time. The program still on ITV, Africa Discourse, and we are still looking at the BRICS nations and how African nations are making incursions into the BRICS bloc. And now the big question I would still ask is, what do we stand to gain? We started up from there as we started looking at issues. Now, Nwutai Butako, we talked about factors that other nations of the BRICS have that African nations probably don't have. The population, we have talked about that. Then we also mentioned the strong economic base of these nations. Then let's look at the gross domestic, products or produce now of these nations that African nations don't have. Now, how do we begin to look at all this so that when we say that we are part of the BRICS, we should begin to compete with all these nations? Because for most people, they probably don't see any reason why Brazil should be a strong member of the BRICS, and maybe a country like Nigeria shouldn't be a strong member of the BRICS? Because if you talk about resources and all that, I don't think if Brazil as a nation, we have it more than Nigeria.
Brazil is a more developed country than Nigeria by many standards. Brazil may not be a first-class economic power, but I think Brazil is a factor in a global economic arrangement. Because that was one of the reasons that the country was able to be a foundational member of BRICS.
Of the BRICS, yeah.
They have the economic challenges. We all know the global economic challenges everywhere, across the board. They have the economic challenges, but I want to say that the Brazilian economy, I think, is far, far better than the Nigerian economy. You understand? So, I think what African leaders should do moving forward is African leaders should just develop their own countries. Should just have a development plan. Not just looking for shortcuts. For me, it's looking for shortcuts. How do we, okay, look at what African association with China, what has it brought to Africa and Africans? Debt. Debt has started piling up. Africa with China.
And they're willing to forgive.
So all these
forgive us any of the debt.
Yeah. So for me, an average African president, you know, is just looking for where they will get financial leverage, probably bring to the continent and loot. Why not develop your economy? Why not develop your countries? Why not make your country one of the best to reckon with? Why will African leaders be subjected to partnership arrangement? It's an insult, as far as I'm concerned, given the resources that we have in Nigeria. Because most African capitals are populated by leaders who doesn't have vision. Most African capitals. Why is Kagame not going to BRICS? Rwanda Kagame. Yeah. Why Kagame not saying, let me go to BRICS? I think that is a very fundamental question. Why Papa Kagame is strong to go to, because Kagame felt that he can muster resources, he has a coherent vision to take his country to the next level. And Rwanda is one of the smallest countries in Africa. So why can't Nigeria, for instance, President Tinubu, why can't you bring a solid economic team, look inwards, and develop Nigeria, and make Nigeria economy one of the best, instead of jumping going to BRICS or no BRICS? That will not take Nigerian economy to the next level. What will take Nigerian economy to the next level is for Tinubu, for instance, to have a coherent economic agenda, not an IMF agenda that we see now. IMF agenda is destroying the country. That's the fact of the matter. The IMF agenda is what is affecting Nigerian economic reality now. Yeah. And IMF is saying that they are not to blame and not to blame. But we know the faults that is being played behind the scene. Even the presidency is being accused of being a CIA agent, for instance. It's in the news. President Tinubu is being accused of being a CIA agent. How can you imagine that? A president of the largest, most popular black nation on earth. So the point I'm still going to make is that most African leaders are myopic. Well, not all of them. Yeah. See, I am an expert at the international arena because I know the struggle for global resources, where it has placed Africa and Africans. It was a deliberate arrangement to stagnate Africa and Africans. I'm telling you, it was because the Chinese, the Russians, and some members in BRICS, they don't want to experience the African experience. That's the fact of the matter. They don't want to be stagnated and be dictated to by IMF and other Western institutions.
Yeah, so that's why they.
That's what we BRICS. Yeah. That is a simple logic to counter
Western interests.
The American mighty dollar.
Yeah.
So I now begin to wonder, what is wrong with Nigeria foreign minister, for instance? Are they not experts in their own fields? Do they not see these things? Ultimately, this thing will not favor us. There are advantages of being members or partners of BRICS. I'm able to sell your mining materials, your inter-regional market, investment opportunities, and all that. But we know that corruption is an issue. We know that bad governance is an issue in Africa. Those issues have not left Africa, or has corruption left Africa?
No, it's still there.
As third-class leaders, have they vacated most palaces in Africa? No.
They're still there.
They're still there.
Yeah.
So what are we saying? So if African leaders know the interplay, know what is available at the global arena, I'm not sure they want to join the BRICS.
Okay. All right. So let's quickly see a video. That's the background video you'll be watching. Let's take a listen. And that has to do with the last summit of the BRICS. Let's quickly take a listen. We'll be right back.
Representatives will head to Kazan to participate in the extended BRICS Plus format. Others, however, are in no hurry to join. Russia's ally Kazakhstan says it has no plans to seek membership in the near future. Its president, though, promised to attend the gathering. That invitation came directly from President Putin, who has reaffirmed Russia's support for a two-state solution to the conflict. Yulia Shapovalova, Al Jazeera, Moscow.
All right, thank you. Thank you one more time. The program is still right here. Now, as we begin to commence our descent now let's look at how we can begin to think of, handling some of these issues or some of these challenges that we have itemized on this program that may limit our success, even as being members or as being partners of the BRICS.
That factors?
The challenges now. How can we begin to go against them so that we benefit from the BRICS ultimately?
For instance, China import duty is the lowest in the world. That to be able to sell their product, the import
is low.
Is low, and it's a disadvantage to African countries. Because we don't have the population, we don't have the economic power, we don't have all the things. So China still have an advantage over all members or other members in BRICS. That is the fact of the matter. So the challenge for African leaders is to develop Africa and Africans. There's no two alternatives. African leaders should allow this wool to be pulled out of their eyes, to see that the struggle in the international arena is about racism.
It's about personal interest.
It's about individual national interest.
Yeah.
Not just sitting down in the presidential palace and say, what are we going to gain in BRICS? I tell you, what I want to speak the minds of Nigerian minister for Eastern Affairs, for instance. Is there any financial leeway there? But that is the issue. But when you are sitting on resources that could build your country, what don't we have in Nigeria? What don't we have in Africa? I was saying initially that can't Nigeria, for instance, as the largest most popular black nation on earth, can't we initiate a program that will drag third world countries to Abuja, for instance? Can't we be initiators of fantastic economic arrangements that will compete favorably with other global contestants? These are the issues.
Yeah.
As I said earlier, South Africa, that's even a so-called member of BRICS, is the weakest. Why is South Africa the weakest? Because the currency is floundering in the international market. And Nigerian currency is even one of the lowest in the world now. Nigerian naira.
Yeah.
So what are we saying? Why would they not place Nigeria under African in the lane of partnership? You say, what are these people going? What did they come to get from here? For me, it is insultive because we are not supposed to be beggars at this stage. African countries should wake up. African countries should know that there's a philosophy that rules in the international arena. That philosophy, it doesn't have morality. The philosophy is about the strong to overpower the young.
The philosophy of supremacy.
Philosophy of supremacy.
Yeah.
until the philosophy that says a man's skin does not have less significance to the color of his eyes.
Yeah.
That's racism. Ernest Alexis said it at the League of Nations in 1939, before the League of Nations collapsed. He said, these policies, until this philosophy is discarded, there's going to be war. There will not be peace. Peace will not be eluded. So the Chinese, the Russians, and the rest of people, they have seen the power tussle at the global arena.
Yeah.
That's why they formulated the BRICS agenda.
Okay.
And to the best of my ability, to the best of my, of my intelligence, I don't know. I challenge Nigerian foreign minister, Nigerian economic team, and all the economic team in Africa. I don't know whether they know what I'm talking about. Because the struggle is beyond investment and trade opportunities.
Yeah.
There is a supremacy, there's a tussle. Even within the BRICS, there's a power tussle between China and Russia. Why is it that when President Lula of Brazil initiated a currency for BRICS that is being blocked from Washington?
Yeah.
So there's a perpetual struggle that African leaders should see. Because I'm an expert in this field.
And in all of all this, they don't stand a chance at the African leaders and African.
So the best bet for African leaders is to see come back to their homes, rule the people positively, let society be an open society. Let your best people, let them come on board. I was looking at Obasanjo recently, we're going to do election, talking about electoral reform. Let the electoral process be reformed. Let it allow the best brains, cerebral brains, that will think in the league of super leaders that have changed their countries. For instance, Modi in India, Jinping, this guy in China. These are dictators, but they have vision.
Yeah.
Where they will take their country to. And I've discovered in the international arena, no country has ever developed without its own strong men. There must be a strong man behind each developed country. That's what I have noticed. That I've read.
Strong men in what?
Strong men!
In what terms?
President with vision.
Okay.
President that want to have their way.
Because if you
even in democracy,
strong men, we have a lot of strong men in Nigeria.
Not all those corrupt whatever.
Strong men.
For instance, what made America one of the biggest countries on earth today? Because of Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Roosevelt was president of America from 1939 to 1945. Because of America, because of Roosevelt, America became a superpower during the Second World War. So these are fundamental things we should look at.
Yeah.
If you look at these countries that have developed, there are strong men behind them. Strong men who have vision, who have mission. Africa and Africans should produce their own strong men.
Okay.
So produce leaders with vision. Not leaders that be joining from fry pan to pan, looking for financial leverage, and they are sitting on bottomless pit of mineral resources. Leaders who are afraid to develop their countries. I think African leaders should just simply look inward and develop their countries.
Okay.
And stop fooling us. And stop a situation whereby we are being insulted. For me, it's an insult that the British nation are telling Africans that they cannot be full members because they don't have the economy wherewithal to withstand what they have.
Okay.
So,
all right, so we will leave the discussion here this afternoon. Good one to know that the last summit that we saw, that was sometime in October, was actually the 15th edition of the BRICS. I mean, from 2006, and from 2006, 2009, South Africa became a member of the BRICS, and more nations have joined. As it stands now, there are more than 18 nations of the BRICS, so more than about 4 or 5 nations in Africa of the BRICS. Now, it was said a while ago that the BRICS nation, are nations that came together because of economic gains. They decided to come together and form a bloc. And recently we will see that more and more African nations are beginning to show interest and beginning to be partners of the BRICS. Even if we are saying here that if you look at the constitution of the BRICS, I mean, you look at the nations that originally founded the BRICS, the superpowers of the world, you may want to say the almighty China, the Russia, India with their big population, then Brazil. Even if we say that these nations have almost all it takes, African nations do not have what it takes to be there. We'll keep on talking about all these things so that we can see how we can improve on some of these things, and we can be better members, and also members that we gain what other nations of the BRICS are gaining. Now, which I want to say a very big thank you for finding time to come on the show today. It's always exciting to have you on the program.
Thank you.
All right, so viewers out there, that's the show today, Africa Discourse on Independent Television. By the special grace of God, and next week, Monday, is going to be another wonderful time on the program with another topic. My name is Evans Sunokuge. Goodbye, and God bless you.